Good evening, it's meteorologist Michael Fecka. Welcome back to the 9 p.m. all-weather, all-streaming show that we do here every night during the workdays and on weekends. We stream it out to all of our streaming platforms, including Facebook Live and YouTube. So if you're joining us from either of those places, please feel free to leave us a question or a comment. Hopefully I'll be able to address anything as I go through the forecast, but if not, I'll go through at the very end and see if I can address or answer any questions for you individually. So let's get started here. We'll talk about a recap of today, what happened, where the snow went that we never got. Well, we'll start off with a look at our winter alerts. We don't have any weather alerts across the tri-state currently. We did have those winter weather advisories earlier in effect for Edwards, Wabash, and Wayne counties. Those were able to expire earlier this afternoon once we saw that transition over to rain. But in terms of the storm itself, the worst of it still well off to our north. Several areas, or at least many states, including portions of Indiana, Illinois, up towards Michigan, still under a winter storm warning until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Some of those locations picked up 5, 8, maybe even closer to a foot of snow farther north you went. So it was a big snow day for some folks north of us. Just for us here in the tri-state, it really wasn't. We were never really expecting a ton of snow here, but we were expecting at least maybe a coating to an inch in some locations, but that just did not happen. Taking a look at this loop from this morning, we actually did have snow move in over the tri-state. What happened was there was drier air a lot closer to the surface, about a half mile above the surface. So as that snow was falling, it was just so dry that those snowflakes ended up evaporating before they hit the ground. And that dry air was really in full force through much of the day. We didn't really see precipitation start reaching the ground until around 1, 2 o'clock this afternoon. So definitely unexpected there, but at least we didn't see too many travel issues, and that was kind of the biggest key point with today's First Alert Weather Day, was that potential for a few minor travel disruptions, but luckily we didn't see that here in the tri-state. However, if you were paying attention on Facebook, you may have seen a lot of problems up along I-70 near the Terre Haute area, a huge car pileup, and that could have very easily happened here had that snow actually made it to the ground. So I'm glad that we escaped that. But looking at our correlation coefficients, I bring this up a lot during winter weather, but you also recognize it from some severe weather. We actually use this when we try to figure out if there's debris getting lofted up into the air by any tornadoes or strong wind gusts, but it's also useful for figuring out where exactly that transition line between rain and snow is. And currently we don't have any transition zones happening within the tri-state. We're all sitting with rain, but earlier today we were able to actually look at that and see where we were mixing with sleet versus rain versus a few snowflakes. A little bit of an extra meteorology for you. Gosh, a little bit hard to say tonight, but looking at your forecast this evening, rain will continue to taper off here through the overnight hours, some lingering showers, and perhaps even a few flurries possible, especially early tomorrow morning as cooler air crashes on the backside of this system. But looking at your forecast through the rest of the night and leading us into tomorrow here, again, that front continues to push in from the west. A few more spotty rain showers. Can't completely rule out a flurry or two as that cooler air works in very early tomorrow morning. But throughout the day on Sunday, we really should just be cloudy, cold but dry out there, and a little bit breezy. Winds will be out of the northwest with gusts up to 20 miles per hour, and temperatures only going to warm up to near that freezing mark, only around 32 degrees by the time we get into tomorrow afternoon. And if we're lucky, we may see a few cracks of sun in there, but I'm not too hopeful on that. I think we're just going to stay pretty cloudy throughout the day on Sunday. But looking at what we're tracking ahead of us here, we are still looking at that potential for some more snowfall once we get into Monday night into Tuesday. Now again, it doesn't look like it's going to be a huge big snowstorm for us here, but it'll be just enough snow to where we may see a few issues, especially for that Tuesday morning commute. So that's why we have that alert in there. Monday night into Tuesday morning, it looks like due to the track of this storm system, again, there's still some model discrepancies, but for the most part, a lot of them keep them farther south. So that puts us on the colder side of the system, which sets us up for a much better chance of seeing mainly snow, or at least some more accumulating snowfall. There will still likely be some mixing involved, especially the farther south you go across western Kentucky, but overall accumulations should be fairly light. We're looking at mostly a coating up to an inch for most, but there could be an isolated spot or two closer to 2 inches, especially farther off to the eastern edge of the tri-state. So again, just using caution out there Tuesday morning as you're headed out to work or for school. But let's look at the evolution of this. I'm going to show us the GFS model. Both the European and GFS are in fairly good agreement about the actual track of the storm. The differences that they have is the amount of moisture that's getting lofted up from the south. So the GFS wants to push in a lot more moisture from the Gulf up into the tri-state, and that's going to crash into that cold air, and it produces a little bit more in the way of snowfall for us. So we could take a look at our snowfall accumulations here. The GFS puts us at around an inch and a half in some locations, maybe closer to 2 out towards Louisville, whereas if we look at the European snowfall forecast, it does have the similar track, but it doesn't have as much moisture with it. So we only end up, by the Europeans, about a half an inch there. So we generally are expecting a coating up to an inch, but we could still see maybe a pocket or two of 2 inches farther off to our east, mainly out towards Louisville. But with the models now starting to kind of come together a little bit more overnight tonight into tomorrow, we should have a much better idea on the exact timing, if there's going to be mixed precipitation and exactly how much. So still some things that need to be answered there, but for the most part, that is the general theme of this next storm system. And then we dry out Wednesday through Thursday, and then it looks like another system tries to move in by the end of next week and into next weekend. Now, this one doesn't have an alert associated with it. It's got a lot of variability with it. Obviously, it's at the very end of our forecasting range, but it still looks like we could get at least maybe a few snowflakes and some rain mixed in there through next weekend as we continue to kind of warm up. But even though we're warming up a little bit more, we're still actually remaining well below average for this time of year. So looking at our temperature trend through the next 7 days, highs are only going to be topping out in the 30s here, maybe closer to 40 by the end of next week for the foreseeable future. So our average highs are usually in the lower 50s. We are well below that. Our average lows are typically hovering around freezing. That's where many of our highs through the next 7 days are actually going to end up, and our lows will be well down into the 20s. So it's very, very chilly out there, definitely feeling like winter as we round into the next month into December. So it's more timely, but here's a look at your 7-day forecast just to kind of wrap everything up in a little bow for you, and I'll look at your comments and questions here in just a moment. But we'll dry out through tomorrow, holding on to that cloud cover. It will be chilly out there, temps only topping out around freezing, and with that gusty winds out of the northwest up to 20 miles per hour, it will likely feel even colder than that. So if you got any outdoor plans tomorrow, you'll be good to go. Just make sure you're bundled up with plenty of layers. We'll stay cold even into Monday with the cloud cover still hanging around, but we do start to see that next system move in Monday evening, overnight into very early Tuesday morning, with that potential for some more accumulating snowfall. Coating up to an inch is likely across the entire tri-state, but some folks could see maybe closer to 2 inches as you go farther off to our east. And then once we clear out of that system, Wednesday, Thursday, we dry out. We maybe see a return of some sunshine, but temperatures remain on the cooler side, only hovering in the upper 30s to around 40 degrees by the time we get into Friday, with some more rain and snow showers possible. So that is the gist here for the next 7 days. Let me go ahead and check out some of these comments. Jeanette Rice says, good evening. Good evening to you, Jeanette. William says he has everything here by Bossy Field, rain, ice, sleet, and some snowflakes, about a 1/4 inch of liquid precipitation. Thank you for your report. Cheyenne says, good evening. Ricky says, good evening, Michael. Hate wintertime. Me too. It's never fun for anyone. Teresa says, good evening, snow and forecast for staying in. Thank you for the weather report. You are very welcome. And David said, let's skip winter. I'm right with you. If we could just hop back over, into May or June, preferably June. We want to skip severe weather season too. We want to just get right to the nice stuff. Kathy agrees with us. And Angie with a report out of Vincennes saying we are getting a little light snow here. Well, thank you for that report. Do you mind telling me if it's sticking or not, or if you had any snow sticking earlier today, because Vincennes a lot more north than us here in the Evansville area. So I am curious to see just how different those temperatures were over that short distance. But very interesting reports. Thank you guys for tuning in and chiming in with your comments and questions. We always appreciate it. So that's all I've really got here for the forecast. I'm going to hop off the live stream and I'll send you guys over to 14 News at 10 for all the latest news and weather headlines. Until then, everybody, stay safe and have a great rest of your weekend.